Hey there, Doc. Dr. Scott Doherty from Chirolaunch, coming to you today from New Orleans, downtown New Orleans behind you, sitting here on the banks of the Mississippi. Some tanker ships going back and forth, some paddle boats. Beautiful day out here today. Anyways, today I just have a quick call to action for you. And that call to action is to take a critical look at your staffing. I've been out here doing an on-site consultation, which just brought it to mind, but I've actually been seeing a lot of staff issues lately. Staff that's holding the practice back. So I want you to take a critical look, make sure you have the right people in the right place. My next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about getting your staff to produce for you and also holding them accountable. But first and foremost, you got to make sure you have the right people in the right place. Little case history that the client I'm out here working with, when I first met him, came out for an initial practice evaluation like I always do, sat down with him for a couple hours, and everything he told me, he said that, my office manager's fantastic. She's been with me 14 years. I don't know what I would do without her. All that kind of fun stuff. And as I listened to him, I started to be curious about that. Now, fortunately, he did hire me. I came back on to do an on-site, so I spent a day and a half in his practice just looking around, listening to everything going on, and kind of seeing the processes. And the next morning I told him I didn't think she belonged there. And he was kind of shocked by it, but I gave him all the reasons, and he's like, oh yeah, I guess I hadn't seen those things. Anyways, we decided to just make the changes in the practice and kind of see what happened. Well, she quit the next day. I do not take credit for that. But here it is a month later. I came back for a second on-site to spur things again. Already made great improvements in the practice, and everybody in the practice, all the staff, the doctor, all say that it's a lot easier around there. There's just a lot of resistance with that office manager. And I see that a lot. And that's one thing I want you to look at is look at who you count on to help you grow your practice, whether it's your office manager, if you have a true office manager or team leader, if you will, or even if it's your front desk person, another doctor, anything of that nature. Take a critical look at them and see if they're actually engaged in practice growth with you. Too often, those people get comfortable at a certain level. They don't want to necessarily work any harder, thinking that, a lot of times they don't get paid for it. Even if they're on a bonus system, it's just not enough. It's not worth it for them. So although you might be telling them, hey, we want to double our practice, we want to do this, and they're nodding their heads, a lot of times they're very resistant to it. And you've got to have somebody who's interested in growth in those positions. So you start to see some symptoms when they are resistant to growth. You just see something that should take them half an hour ends up taking 4 hours. They have a lot of questions about things. They have to do more research. They're just dragging their feet along stuff. They also are resistant to delegate things, especially when there's other staff around. They don't want to give it up because they feel like if they do, that's what makes them special. And even though someone else can do it, they hold on to it. They try to do everything. And one of my old consultants used to tell me that the person who you count on for everything is most likely who's holding you back. In practice, that's often true. Well, I shouldn't say that. The number one person that's probably holding you back is you. But beyond you, because I can't change you, you're gonna be in that practice regardless. And the same thing with this doctor I'm talking about. He had some issues that we worked on, but we couldn't get rid of him, but we could get rid of the office manager. So again, look at that person and see if they're resistant to it. Another thing that we're finding now, a month later, is a lot of work that she had tucked away, put into file folders here and there and just put into drawers and never got to. Nodded her head, claimed it got done, but it wasn't getting done. So that happens a lot. I come into a lot of situations that are really bad, embezzlement, just terrible situations. But in this case, it's subtle. It's not something you see outright. So I'm definitely telling you to go take a look. See if that person you count on really is it. And you probably shouldn't let them watch this video so they don't know you're doing it. But take a look around. Make sure that their job's getting done. Run some reports on that computer. Too many of us don't run reports. We don't really run a business. We don't really know what's going on. So run some reports. Make sure your AR is in shape. Make sure that people are paying their bills. Make sure that we're scheduling properly. I get staff, and again, office managers that won't follow the doctor's recommended scheduling. And I know I did a video about that a few weeks back, but they won't do it because they think it means more work for them. And they're at their own capacity. And the doctor might have more capacity, but we can't fill it because the staff is at their capacity. So look at those people you have in charge of your practice growth, who you count on for that. Make sure they're in the right place. It's a lot easier. I know he was very resistant to let her go, but now he realizes that was the best thing for him. In a lot of cases, we have to make that tough decision. We got to look at them and say, we can either hold them on and go through this and struggle and struggle and struggle, or perhaps by letting them go, we can actually grow, still have a good relationship with them, and find someone else to come in who doesn't have those mental barriers, who's not stuck at that certain level. Quick story, I had a similar situation when I opened my practice. The girl I helped opened my first practice and helped me become successful was phenomenal at that time. We started growing out, getting our second practice, our third practice, our fourth practice. And at our fourth practice, she was still stuck in a single practice mentality. And although I loved her and she helped me get a long ways, she couldn't help me get any further. And you might be in a similar situation. You got somebody that's been with you for 14 years, seeing the good or the bad, they might be stuck at one of those bad levels. They might just be comfortable there. And they don't want to push to that higher level again. So it's kind of a long-winded way of saying, make sure you take a look at your staff this week, the rest of this year. For me, it's just always, the end of the year is a good time just kind of look at staff, look at your capacity, look at everything. So take a look at your staff for the rest of this year. Make sure that they're engaged with you in growth. Maybe we have to have a little meeting with them and sit down with them, tell them what we're trying to do, and make sure we get their agreement. But look at those critical people and see if they're doing the thing that they should be doing for you. And again, next video, which I think I'm heading off to LA here pretty soon. So out in California, we'll talk about how to hold your staff accountable, how to get them engaged in that process. So if you find somebody who's not quite there, or we can still move in the right direction, we'll talk about how to get them productive. And I look forward to talking to you then. Any questions, comments, put them down below. Talk to you soon.